Production funding for Behind the Headlines is made possible in part by the WKNO Production Fund, the WKNO Endowment Fund, and by viewers like you. Thank you.
A forensic audit of the criminal court and a look at the new city council appointments tonight on Behind the Headlines. I'm Eric Barnes, President and Executive Editor of the Daily Memphian. Thanks for joining us. I'm joined tonight by Heidi Kuhn. You are the newly elected Shelby County Criminal Court Clerk.
Yes.
Thanks for being here.
Absolutely.
Along with Bill Dries, reporter with the Daily Memphian. Let's start. You took office 90 days ago in the fall. Newly elected to this office after many years in county government. We'll talk about some of that. But pretty quickly, you called for an audit with some real concerns about what was going on financially in that office. Talk about what you found and why you called for this outside audit.
Okay. Well, while I was running during the campaign, it was brought to my attention that there were some things going on with the budget. And so I knew coming in that I would be some issues were going to be right there and then when I took office. So when we went in and we were kind of cleaning up, getting ready to take over our offices, opening drawers and finding checks that were not deposited, finding file folders in between the desk and the wall was a little concerning. And then coupled with the fact that we knew that the budget was incorrect. So that kind of led me to believe something needs to happen, and I want to make sure that we're walking into an office that is cleared, and so I called for an audit. And
so, I think I read also that you also told County Commission this. I mean, you immediately sort of said, here's what's going on. Those checks were made out to whom, and who were they from?
Most of the checks were made out to us, and they were either from clients that had made a payment on their account. Some of them were made from law firms. But what we couldn't do is figure out who they were from, and we can reconcile those. They hadn't been deposited, and some of them had been a couple years old.
And much of this, I think, started, give or take, in 2016 when there was a changeover in the accounting system. Is
yes.
that right?
Well, the Odyssey system, which was implemented in November of 2016, that is my understanding as to why certain things weren't done. So some of these checks were as old as 2016.
Well, the amount of money, and then also money that had been deposited and collected. And we'll get into some of the inner workings of this a little bit later. But much of that money you all collect as the clerk's office and then funnel out to other entities in county government. Is
exactly.
That much money that had been collected was just sitting in the bank and not being given to its proper destination.
Right, it was not being allocated or disseminated to the other entities that were owed, such as Shelby County Government, the Sheriff's Office.
I mean, a fair amount of money. Was it $244,000 at one point to the general fund of Shelby County?
That's actually what we paid out, but that was due. But a great example is General Sessions was owed close to $800,000, and they had not been paid. Most of these entities had not been paid in about 1.5 to 2 years.
What entity? Now what entities are those?
As I mentioned, it could be Shelby County Government, General Sessions, it could be the jail, as the sheriff, other agencies as well. So it's kind of it's a percentage base on who gets paid out. So, but there are ones that are up at the top, and then you just pay out as you go.
And then I'll get Bill here in a second, but just again, that is money coming from people who've been fined or lawyers working on their behalf. I'm a little confused on that, where that money's coming from. So
well, there are two different budgets that we have. What we do is when we bill the state on cases that we have, they reimburse us for each case.
So they processing fees for your time.
And then that money is received by our office, and then it's allocated and disseminated to the other agencies that may have incurred costs due to that case.
So those checks from the state weren't being deposited in some
Well,
cases.
actually, they weren't being billed, and that's an issue within itself because the courts are paid by the state. So when you're not billing cases, the state is looking and saying, well, you really don't need the 10 criminal court judges. Maybe you don't have as many cases as you said you've had, which could have resulted in the taking away of a judge, which, as you well know, we have a problem of crime in Shelby County, so we need those 10 criminal courts, if not more.
Okay, that's fascinating. So that's okay. So that's the state, and then do money from, like, if I get a parking fine or I get, do those kinds of things?
Not
pass
a parking
through?
fine, but
Okay.
if you've been assessed fines and fees from your case, a criminal court case, then you can pay on those as well. So
Okay, and that runs through your office.
that runs through the office.
So
yes.
let's say that, and then I want to get back to the budget part, but let's say that I'm a person who's paying down some fines, and we've talked a lot about fines and the impact, and we'll talk about that a little bit later on the show today too. But let's say I have written a check, it's gone there, and it wasn't deposited, it wasn't recorded.
Right.
That then still shows up on my record as an unpaid fine, apparently.
Exactly.
So that could then prevent me from getting
Could be an
licenses? I mean,
expungements, anything like that. And if it's not, if we don't put into the system who paid and when and for what, then that's a problem for those that are coming in paying, for those offenders or for those customers that are coming in to pay, because there is no tracking system.
This is everyone who is listening who is a skeptic of government and its ability to do anything. This is their
worst
living,
nightmare.
This is their, yes.
Agreed.
So let's keep going on this, just because it is, I mean, it's fascinating and kind of horrifying as a taxpayer. I mean, right? I mean, it's just, I mean, I don't want to break my objectivity here, but about how many checks have you found?
Just several.
Okay.
You know, I don't have an exact amount, but enough to cause concern. And it's not that all of them weren't put into a system. What they weren't put into was Odyssey. They were put into an Excel spreadsheet.
So they're kind of tracked over here.
Which is unsecure, and also, or a handwritten log.
Okay.
Which is unsecure, and you can't audit that, and it's very unsafe because you don't know what's happening with that, and it needed to be in a secured system.
You said you had heard on the campaign trail that the budget was wrong. You got in and you said the budget, there was a what was your quote? At least as we framed it in the article, the actual budget was a facade. What does that mean?
It means that what they claimed as an actual budget versus their proposed budget was incorrect, because if they're not billing the state and not receiving reimbursable funds, then what they're stating is false, because they had not stated, or they had stated they were receiving money when they weren't for those 2 years.
Let me get Bill in here.
So Heidi, have you had to create some accounting systems that weren't there before as soon as you walked in the door?
Absolutely.
Here?
That was the first thing that we needed to do, because we figured out an Excel spreadsheet is not conducive to running an efficient office. And like I stated, it's insecure, and we wanted to make sure that we had a system, and Odyssey is built for that. They weren't utilizing Odyssey for those payment plans because those are automatically connected to cases, in which you mentioned, how do you know if yours is being paid out? If you're a customer coming in, an offender, and you want to pay down your fines, there was really no way of reconciling that with an Excel spreadsheet.
So you took office September 1st. Budget season will be here before you know it. You have to submit a budget proposal to the Shelby County Commission. Is this going to affect the budget that you propose here in a couple of months?
It is. It's very concerning, because we needed to propose a budget in March, and we're not exactly sure of the monies that we have, and so that's why I've called for the audit, because we need to understand what we're working with. And fortunately, we've made great advancements in the 4 months that I've been there, so we have a little bit of an understanding of maybe what direction we're headed, but the Commission is very aware of our circumstance and our situation, and I'm hoping that they will be a little bit lenient in regard to our budget and our requests, because we've also found that we need about 12 additional staff members for us to be at a full complement.
Mm-hmm. And that's because of the size of the criminal justice system that your office deals with every day, 5 days a week.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we have a lot going on in the office. There are a lot of moving parts in what we do, and a lot of people don't understand exactly what the criminal court clerk's office does. We have clerks in the courtroom. We run expungement. We take in the money. We are basically the keeper of the records for all the 10 criminal courts.
How many employees do you have right now? You're talking about asking for 12 more.
I believe it's about 94.
Okay. Your predecessor, Richard, I can't pronounce this right, DeSasser, said to Yolanda Jones, who reported for the Daily Memphian, I chose to sit on the money owed to the agencies until Odyssey, the system you mentioned, could be fixed and we could properly account for the money we were sending to the agency. The money was in the bank, but I chose to sit on it because the Odyssey system could not show which defendant's account the money came from. Are you calling for, do you blame your predecessor for this? And it's something, well, I'll start there.
Okay. Well, obviously there were issues when we walked into the office with the policies and procedures and operations of the office. I don't necessarily want to place blame, but when you walk into the office and you're finding checks and hidden files and things, that's a problem. And so what we want to do is make sure that we start off right from the beginning. As you stated previously, there is a mistrust with government. And so we wanted to show that we are going to be transparent in what we are doing, and we want to correct anything that was done incorrectly with the previous administration.
Was this done maliciously? I mean, to kind of subvert something, to funnel money into places it shouldn't go, or was it mismanagement?
I can't answer that. I don't know why they did what they did.
Do you think that will come out of the audit?
It's quite possible, and those are the answers that we are seeking. Is why and what happened, and how can we correct those things that went wrong?
Could the Odyssey system be replaced as a part of this?
I don't necessarily think that it's all on Odyssey. I think it was procedural and the operations of the office. We fortunately have been able to go in and correct a lot of things that have gone wrong within the last 4 months, especially with Odyssey. And I know that Mr. Deschaussure had stated that he's claiming that was the entire reason why they didn't do what they did. But I don't understand how we can come in and within 4 months we're able to do certain things and to pay out agencies and bill the state and receive funding.
He was elected in 2014. Odyssey came in 2016. So keep
right.
Bill.
And what I've seen over the years is that sometimes the judges, the criminal court judges, have a way of doing things and an interpretation of how things are done. And of course, they're judges and they run their courtrooms, and that sometimes that can conflict with the way the clerk's office does it and its reading of what your duties are and what it's required to do. Any indication that that's in play here, that the judges had one way of doing it and the clerk's office was either abiding by that or had its own way of doing it?
Not to my knowledge. We have a really good relationship with all the 10 criminal court judges, and the clerks work well with the judges, and I don't see that that's a conflict. Again, I think it's basically how the office was run and certain things that were not done, and the blaming of Odyssey. I think that's mainly what we're looking at.
So. Go ahead.
This is your office covers some very complex things that a lot of people, even those who come to the court, really don't think about. How complex is this part of the criminal justice system, this very big part of the criminal justice system? As you mentioned, these are the records.
Right.
This is what people rely on to say this person went to court on this charge and were acquitted, or the charges were dropped, or they were convicted. How complex is this undertaking?
Relatively complex, because what we do is we do keep all the records, we keep all the jackets, we also assign all the cases to the judges. We also hold all the property and evidence, which a lot of people don't know. And we take in and we collect all the fees and fines, which is a multi-million-dollar transaction. And we deal with the expungements, and we do grand jury, and so it is pretty complex. There are a lot of moving parts to the criminal court clerk's office.
I mean, we talked before about the budget being a bit of a mess, but about how much money should the criminal your office be bringing in every year? I mean,
well, that's hard for me to answer, only because I've been there for a short amount of time and because it's not been done correctly in the last 2 years. So it's difficult, and it's per case.
Is it $100 million? Is it $10 million? Or is it somewhere between, even just between those two numbers?
It's between there, yeah.
Okay.
And I think that the audit will be able to tell us how much we should have received versus how much we should have paid out. And I think the other concern is if there was any payout, that it was done incorrectly. So, for example, if the sheriff's office was owed an amount of money, it could be not the correct amount that was owed, that was paid out. So I think those are the types of things that the audit is going to show.
And the audit will be done by whom?
Watkins Uberall will be doing it.
Private firm. Okay.
But as I had stated, I think previously, the issue too is that we don't have any information to audit. So, and what I mean by that is because we had the Excel
that kind of
spreadsheet.
Stopped me in my tracks. But keep going.
we didn't have that unified system that you can audit. So all of the information, all the checks that may have been deposited, the money that he referenced as sitting on, those checks were deposited. However, there's no information as to where those checks went. So what we've had to do is make copies of all those physical checks. Those checks have to be entered into the system, into the Odyssey system.
Okay. So no record. When you say no record, it's all going into, I mean, one big checking account. It's not going in. There wasn't like a sort of separate
account. It's like your personal checking account.
Yeah. So we've got a problem. We don't know where this money's going. We're going to put it in a separate account. It's all, there's money over there. It's just all in there in the checking account, which is also
and some were not
moving.
deposited.
So money's going out, money's coming in. So it's not like it was a static sort of account there of discrepancies.
Well, there was no documentation as to where that check went. So it was deposited, but we don't know if it was sent to somewhere else or whose it was. I mean, there's the Excel spreadsheet that states, yes, this was deposited, but there's no reference as to where it went.
Again, people throwing stuff at the screen right now, those who are skeptical of government. No. How long will it take for the audit? Do you have any sense?
Well, I think it's going to take about 1 to 2 months to enter all the data that we have, that we can find. Once that's completed, then the forensic audit could take 1 to 2 months.
And about how much will that audit cost?
It's not costing us. Shelby County government is providing that to us. It's temp fees, but no, exactly. I'm not sure of the cost.
Right. Okay. Well, we'll come back to some of that, I'm sure, as we kind of talk through. But you mentioned expungements, and we mentioned this is an elected position.
Yes.
You, in part, some of your goals as an elected official, you talked about expungements and making it, I think, easier or more efficient for people to get expungement. Let's back up and say, what is an expungement for people who don't know?
An expungement is basically an erasing a record if you are eligible, in the simplest of terms.
A criminal record.
A criminal record, right, through the criminal court clerk's office.
And those are, does this all go back to the 2012 law there are laws about what can be expunged and
exactly.
what can't.
There's a lot of eligibility requirements. It's hard for me to go down and list all of them. But that's one of the things that we do is we identify and see if the individual is even eligible for expungement.
Right. I mean, this is actually off your website. The law that went in 2012 was, a person, you're eligible for an expungement. You've never been convicted of a criminal offense, including federal offenses in other states. At least 5 years have elapsed since the completion of a sentence imposed. The person has fulfilled all the requirements of the sentence. This is not about expunging a murder or any
heinous crime.
Any sort of what we would loosely call a heinous crime. This is about expunging driving on a suspended license.
Sure.
I mean, those are the ones that come up often on this show and stories, right?
Right.
About how many expungements does your office do every year?
Well, and it's not that we process the expungements.
How many do you process? Yeah,
so the issue was that the previous administration, this was not a priority to them at all, unfortunately. So my understanding is in the last year of the previous administrations, they expunged maybe about 600 expungements. We are already close to that within the last 4 months. So my goal, and one of the things I talked about when campaigning, is to have an expungement court, because I think that this offers a streamlined way of having individuals come in, and it reduces the confusion of eligibility, and we would have everyone set in one. It's sort of a one-stop shop. Is my dream to have an expungement court.
Bill.
We've also talked on this show about the efforts of then State Representative Ramesh Akbari, who's now a state senator, who actually worked to drop the fee, which was more than $400.
Yes, which was a barrier, to say the least, for people to get expungements.
So are you, in doing the expungements that you've done since taking office in September, what is the level of interest among people who have been through the criminal justice system in having this done, and are they more aware of it now than perhaps they have been before?
I don't think that people are aware as much as they need to be, but I can say that in October we had the Restoration Saturday, which we did in combination with General Sessions as well as the DA. And we had, gosh, I would say maybe 1,000 people show up. And there is definitely an interest. And I think there's some confusion as to eligibility requirements and things like that. And there was also reinstatement of license, but you can see that there's a need. And when you look at a need, with the expungement court, I can say that Knox County has an expungement court, and it's been up and running for about a year and a half, and they have expunged 23,000 cases. That's a pretty significant amount. When you're looking at Shelby County and we're only expunging less than 1,000 in a year, I think we can do better.
And we're a county 2 or 3, 4 sizes.
We're the largest county in the state of Tennessee. Right.
Right.
Do you hear from people who encounter the barriers that not having the expungement that they encounter along the way? Is that kind of like the first alert? Because the criminal justice system has to be overwhelming to someone who goes in there the first, maybe even the third or fourth time goes through that system. So this thing happens, they're convicted of some offense or plead guilty, and then they encounter all the court costs and fees that come with that, and then they complete whatever they're supposed to do, and then they go to apply for a job or go for any number of things, and it's like, oh, you've been convicted.
Right. Right, and that's a barrier, and that's a real issue, and so that's what we're trying to minimize. What we want to do is offer people an opportunity for a second chance, and many don't know that they're eligible, and they do go and they apply for jobs, or they apply for loans, or they apply for school, and are unable to get in or receive that loan or receive a job because they do have a record, and they may not even realize that they are eligible for expungements. And so this offers an opportunity for them to come in and actually see if they are eligible. So that's the great thing about it, is offering us an opportunity for advancement for them.
What would it cost to set up an expungement court, give or take?
Actually, there shouldn't be a cost. If we can utilize a judge and a courtroom maybe, and I'm not talking about a standalone courtroom, not like Veterans Court or mental health court or drug court. This would just be 1 or 2 days during the week in the afternoon for maybe like 2 to 4 to open it up, and everybody would already be there. So the DA's office would be there, we would be there, the judge would be there. We would see if they are eligible, and if they are, we can work on having them fill out the paperwork, and then the DA's office can review their eligibility and then send it to the judge for to sign it.
And the judge does a regular docket otherwise when they're not.
Exactly. This would be, they would, and a couple judges have stated that they are very interested in doing this. So I think I have them on board, which is great.
And what is it, if I'm trying to get an expungement, does it cost me money?
It does cost that fee.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay.
Yeah.
How much was the fee again?
I think it's down to $180, I believe. Okay. Yeah, from the $400 and something it used to be, which was a barrier within itself.
This, before we switch to talking a little bit about City Council with Bill here, briefly, yours is a partisan election. You were a Democrat.
Yes.
This issue of expungement, have you seen support just among Democrats or among Democrats and Republicans?
I think that there's a great interest in expungement, no matter your party, because I think that there are Republicans and Democrats that may have a record that want expunged. So when you're looking at justice reform, I think that everybody agrees something needs to change. You just may be looking at it through a different lens. And Democrats, I think, lean more towards offering people a second chance. So they're more in favor of it. But I certainly have not had any backlash or opposition from Republicans with this idea. Yeah. And actually, the criminal court clerk in Knox County is a Republican, and he's done this.
Yeah, and we've had an increasing number of Republicans, people of all stripes, coming on talking about this, talking about people who have not the heinous crimes, but other people, to give them a chance if they're trying to get their life on track to make this more efficient. I'm going to switch. I'm going to leave you here for a second, and we're going to switch and talk, Bill, about City Council, which managed after a couple of votes and a couple of weeks and a couple of probably a few lost tempers to fill the appointments of 3 openings. Let's talk about who was appointed, some familiar faces and some surprises if people weren't paying attention earlier this week.
A very surprising end to what's essentially been a 2-month controversy and stalemate with, I think, around 112 separate roll call votes, all told, not counting this past Tuesday. So the council's back up to full strength at 13th. At 13, you have 3 new members. You have Jerry Curry, a bank vice president in Whitehaven, who is the new District 6 City Council member at least through the end of 2019. You also have Cheyenne Johnson, who is the former Shelby County property assessor, who is the Super District 8 council member, and Sherman Greer, who is with Southwest Tennessee Community College in Government Affairs there, a assistant to the president of the college, who is the District 1 City Council member. A few significant things here, in addition to being up to full strength on the council now, you have 4 African American women on the Memphis City Council for the first time in its 50-year history. For the first time since 1972, a member of the Ford family does not hold the District 6 City Council seat. And for the first time in the 50-year history of the Memphis City Council, you have 8 African Americans on the body.
And that is out of
13 members.
Out of total 13. These 3 will are all appointments through next October?
They serve through the end of this year, when the winners in the October city elections will take office in January of 2020. And as people are thinking, are these folks going to run in the elections in 2019? All 3 have said they do not know at this point.
Which means they're going to. And then we have a new chair of this council?
Yes, Kemp Conrad, who is in his final term on the council because of term limits, is the new chairman for the year. The vice chairman is Patrice Robinson.
And this is his second time as
chairman of the body.
Okay, thank you for that update. We're more obviously on the site about that. Thank you, Heidi Kuhn, for being here.
Thank you.
We'll try to get you back as you get through this process of the audit. And thank you for joining us. Join us again next week.